let's talk about what does this mean for organizations and for business and people teams. And the first thing I want to talk about businesses, there really is this notion pertaining to the fact that we're going to have to help organizations find adaptive business models. What does this mean for us as a people team and as a people function? The first one is we are going to have to start thinking about a new people or HR offering, and we're already starting to see that. What HR brings to the table or the people function brings to the table is very different today than what it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And this is a welcome revolution and reframing of really what this function is. And I think we're starting to see a lot more interest pertaining to newer fields coming into the HR fold. What do these HR skills of the future look like? And this is our model. We refer to it very fondly as the T-shaped professional skills model. But what this talks about is we believe that the people practitioner of the future really needs to be T-shaped. And what that just basically means, at the top, you'll find 5 core competencies that they need to be able to focus on. And this is applicable to everyone in the people function, regardless of your role or context or organization.
You mentioned this idea of the workforce and the contract needs to change. So in the age of remote work, hybrid, work from home, the relationship between the employer and the employee tends to be a little bit contentious. So what thoughts do you have on what HR can do in the future to improve this important relationship?
Marty, there's a couple of things to think about. And first, we need to acknowledge that there's been a bit of a power shift over the employer and employee relationship in recent times. And what I mean by that is, I think if we go back a number of years, the power relationship was almost sitting a lot more on the employer side to say, these are the terms and conditions, sign on the dotted line. If not, go find something else for you elsewhere.
How do organizations, HR and other systems people, engineers within the organization actually deconstruct those jobs? How do they actually define those? People don't really know where to start to identify those skills. We're always talking about skills. Do you have any thoughts about that?
I think we get stuck on old school terminology, if I may call it that, right? So we go into trying to break down a job. I don't think it's about that. It's about understanding the work and then breaking down what the work needs to be and reconstructing that in a particular way so that there's different permutations that we can start putting together. And I say that because I think, what do we do first when we want to understand what the work is? We go do a job analysis. It's one of our oldest techniques. I don't know whether the things that we are doing today is going to give you that particular answer, because we need to create a lot more visibility on what does it actually take, the activities and the tasks, and how can we reorganize them in different permutations and different ways in order to access new pools of talent.
In addition to starting, Dieter, it seems like not a lot of organizations are integrating the skills practices with the various talent practices. So I'm just kind of thinking, as an employee or a line manager, if you have different skills strategies or silos of skills and pockets of skills in your organization, that has to be more confusing. So in addition to starting, it seems to me that we should be also looking at how can we start connecting the dots slowly in a meaningful long-term strategic way.
No, agreed, Dirk. I think you have to create a common language. And when I say a common language, it's not about, having defined everything up to the nth degree, but it is a common language so that when we refer to something as a skill, everybody's on the same page around what are we talking about. I think then there is responsible adoption across your HR value chain. I think some practices are easier than others. So in my view, something like L&D is a little easier because that type of thinking has kind of been in the L&D space for a very long period of time to be more skills-based there. It's slightly different in the rest of the talent practice. It's slightly different when we start thinking about things like reward, when we start thinking about things like talent acquisition. So we should bear in mind that there should be a master roadmap for this that helps us understand how the work that we're doing now will connect later on.